Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I thought I'd get the rest of this motley crew out of the Seramis. This video is going to be the taking them out of the pots video and see what the hell we've got, because it is a motley crew this time. And perhaps a few thoughts on what I might do with them, but that will be another subject another time. So first thing to do is get the pots out of the way, because like last time I want to use the tray to put the mess in. It's quite an assortment this time. They're not all oncidium types. However, there's more rescue plants in this batch than there was last time, so I have not got great hopes for some of these. This one I was struggling with for ages. It's a Maxillaria. It says it's cream and pink and red and purple. but what combination of that is, I haven't got a clue, because although this was in bloom when I got it, it never has been since. I got a feeling there might be more than one plant in here, and I don't expect a lot. Yeah, it's fallen into two. That was to be expected. I should have done the washing up, then my sink would have been clear, wouldn't it? Never mind. Right, that's one of the plants. That has viable roots, so that, but I mean, look at the state of it. It's got one good bulb, it has got a new growth coming. That new growth will push roots, slightly crinkled, so it's become dehydrated at some point in its life. And it's got that other, a back bulb with no leaves, a tiny little bulb with next to no leaves, and a bug. It's got a bug on it as well. These must have missed out on the spray last time I went round. In fact, they're dead. That's good. Saves me killing them. Yeah, there are a few lurking on this, so it's going to get the hydrogen peroxide. Oh, that's the reason why I'm doing this, is my new sprayer after my disaster has arrived, and my new supplies of hydrogen peroxide, so I can give these a really good clean up before I decide what to do with them. So that is a recoverable plant. I'm not saying it's a good plant, but it is recoverable if I can be bothered. I'll think about that. And that's its other part. Now that's got a good strong new growth on it. It has got viable roots. I wasn't expecting that from this plant, I must admit. So this hasn't fared as badly as I was expecting. This is good. Like a nice surprise now and again. It's another oncidium type that has a habit of trying to climb, but only very, very slightly. So it doesn't leap out of the pot, leaving a huge gap. Yeah, that's not too bad. The two plants will stay together. There's no point in separating them. Neither of them, I think, are viable as far as blooming is concerned, but it would make a nice plant. That bulb will have to come off, it's too low, and yeah, I wonder how big that gets. See, that could be mounted if it's going to stay small, or smallish. I'll have a think about that. That's that one then. What have we got here? I've forgotten what this one is. Should I keep the tags with the plants? I think I will this time. Memory's not as good. Oh, this is one of the Sturbics. This is the purple one. The red one was in the last batch. This is the purple one. And this has a good new growth on it. So it's only as good as what's underneath it. And what's underneath it doesn't look bad. Yep. So what have we got then? We've got a rotten bulb there. Come off now. We have a bulb here that's not happy. See, it's got brown marks on it. And that is the previous growth prior to this new growth. Maybe it's firm, so it's not dodgy. It's just got brown marks on it, and that's probably as a direct result of the problem with the Seramis that I had, in as much as the base of the plants was staying far too wet. So that could have started to go mouldy, yeah, and then decided not to. I know that sounds daft, and it didn't get any special treatment to encourage that. Yeah, it's a good job these are going to get a spray. There are a few scale on these. Because these lurk at the back and I take no flipping notice of them at all, they escape care. So bugs have a chance to get a hold, but they won't stay on there long. Well, I want to keep it, but what's worth keeping on there? That's not worth keeping on there. That's not worth it. That would leave me a back bulb with a leaf, the previous growth and the latest growth, and mostly viable roots, quite honestly. There's only a few dead ones there, not many, and if those two bulbs come off, I'm left with a viable root system. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that to be quite that good. It's for medicinal purposes. I've got a dry throat. You believe that, you believe anything. Now this is sad. This is a twinkle. I can't remember which one, but I've got a feeling it's the pinky red one. There's so little left of this. This is a sad case. Luckily, twinkles are easily replaced. They're available all over the place, turn up in stores. So if I dump this, it's not the end of the world. There's some reasonable roots on there, but what are they backing up? What are those roots supporting? A pathetic little new growth there, and one growth that's inferior to the bulbs. Quite honestly, that's not worth keeping. It just isn't worth a year to 2 years worth of mucking around to get that back to flowering size, when for a few quid I can get a replacement. I'm going to a show soon, they will have them there. So that one's probably straight out under the hedge, quite honestly. It's taken up space that I don't need. That's the first twinkle I've ever lost, and it's your fault. Actually it's not, that was in quite a state when it went in there. And goodness knows what's going to be underneath this. This is a Maxillaria tenure folia. Now this was bought from Burnham's, and it's the only time I've ever got annoyed with young Sarah. They have two types of tenure folia: the normal form, endearingly known as the coconut orchid, and a yellow form. Now, in true orchid terminology, that would probably be categorised as an alba or semi-alba form, but they just had them labelled as yellow. And they had lots of plants, all the same size, of the normal form. Next to it, they had lots more plants of the so-called yellow form. And I've watched people at Burnham's pick up plants, take the tag out and read it, and stick the tag back in a different pot, and then put the pot they've got in their hand back in the pile with no tag on it. So chances are the tag got changed. This has only ever bloomed and had one bloom on it, and it wasn't the yellow form, it was the normal form. So that goes from being something special to just being ordinary. But let's see what we've got in the pot. Not a lot, but we have got active roots. That are good. This is going to take some cleaning up because it's going to hang on to the media. Yeah, we've got some dead roots. We've got media all up in amongst the bulbs. That'll all have to come out. And we do have some scale. And you see this here, this isn't scale. What this is calcium deposits. Yeah? And it's where it was sat in water, and obviously some salts were in that water, either due to the water being used. See, some of the bulbs have just virtually rotted. Too wet at the base, far too wet. But it will clean up, it's salvageable, but only as far as it will move on to somebody else. I've got my good one on a mount. And the one that people have still been curious about, the one that I got out of the basket and then said I'm going to do something with this and I'm not going to film it, well, I still can't film it, but I will one day. There's a reason. The clever people might even work it out. Well, that's salvageable. If I give that a good clean up and get rid of all the muck around the base and get it in a pot, then I can just move it on. sell it at one of the orchid meetings or something. Somebody will want it, but personally I don't. I don't need more than one of these, and I've got one good one. Don't need another one. Now this, God knows what we're going to find in here. This is Gold Digger. It's a Laeliocattleya, an LC. And I threw this one away under the hedge. And it spent about 6 months under the hedge, and then decided to put up this new growth out of the blue while it was out in the garden under the hedge. And I felt sorry for it. So I brought it in, and I thought, well, let's try you out in the Seramis and see what happens. And it had no viable roots on it at the time. It was in a sorry state. That's why it got thrown out in the first place. But it came into the Seramis, and it did so show signs of some roots, and the new growth did push on. But I'm not expecting there to be much underneath this plant. And there isn't much underneath this plant. Not really. Now, is this worth keeping, or is it worth just keeping my eye out for another one? Seems a shame to dump it after all it's been through. But by keeping it, all I'm going to do is put it through some more. But the new growth has several viable... that was a viable root, not anymore. Yeah, it's got a couple of viable roots on it. What I could do is mount it and see if it will spring out from some eyes. Not that I can see any. I'll have a think about that one. That's in, you know, that's 2 years minimum away from blooming, and possibly 3. Whereas I might come across one in a few weeks' time that's fully blooming size with good strong growths and a good root system. So is it worth keeping, really? Decision not made yet. So that's that little lot. A motley crew as expected, and not too much mess this time. See, by the time I did the third tray, not that I've got one, I'd be getting good at taking them out of their pots. It's the cleaning them up that takes the time, not the getting them out of the pots. So I'll have a look round at these, see what I think, and may or may not film the results. But there's at least one going under the hedge now, possibly 2, and I'll see what I'm going to do with the other 3. Update to follow, as they say. Thanks for dropping by. See you next time. Short and sweet. Okay, quick update. Tagged on the end. The Twinkle and the Gold Digger are out under the hedge. So that leaves 3. And I don't know how good the light is. I've been struggling with this plant for some time. And there's why. This plant has been fighting with Fusarium. Probably since I got it, yeah? Because if I had it, I'd have a lot of plants with it by now, because I share water. It would have got around, you know, I'm very lucky. This one was in my project. All of the plants were stood in the same water for some time. But, I mean, I don't know about the Gold Digger and the Twinkle, because they're out under the hedge. It doesn't matter. But that has got the purple ring on it. I hope that's focusing enough for you to see it. So that's straight out under the hedge, no question. So that leaves the Sturbic, which actually looks okay, and this one. This is an incredibly fast grower. I'd be highly surprised if that's got Fusarium, but I will take a bit off now, as I found it, and it was in an enclosed space. If you think about the problems Danny had, it was because all of the plants were in the same place and wet. Yeah? So it only needs one, and you've just provided the breeding ground for those spores to be transported and then taken on board by other plants. Perfect environment. That was a perfect environment, even though I changed the water frequently. So yeah, I have found one then. I'm not totally immune. Still not throwing all my plants away and getting the flamethrower out in the garden. That one can go. And as I go round my plants repotting, I do a check now and again. But if they're growing healthily and pushing up new growths and blooming, and have reasonable root systems. Whether they've got it or not, I'm not that fussed, because they're obviously living with it and fighting through it. So I'm not going into any form of panic mode. But that one's got it. It's probably had it since I got the plant. And it's managed to hang on all this time, but just never done well. You know, it was on the list of could do a lot better, but now we can see why it didn't do a lot better. Okay, just thought I'd tag that on the end. Now, don't forget, don't go out and get a flamethrower and burn all your plants. Just look at them carefully as you go along. Okay, this is the Sturbic. Now, I'm not sure. I mean, those back bulbs had to come off. I'm not hacking my plants to pieces just for the sake of it. But this back bulb, I said earlier that it's coming off anyway. I'm not sure what I'm seeing there. I'm really not sure. I think there is a very, very slight purple tinge to the very edge of that rhizome. Yeah? Common plant, I can get this again, not worth the risk. So out of those 5, bearing in mind there were 6, one was a Maxillaria, that's long since gone and forgotten. Out of those 5, quite honestly, none of them are getting kept. The Maxillaria was in such a mess when I cleaned it up that it fell apart. The parts ended up quite small, they were not joined together anymore. There's a lot of rot near the base, not worth saving. Again, common plant, yeah, not worth mucking about with. The Sturbic I'm a bit sad about, that was a beauty, but not worth the risk. The Gold Digger and the Twinkle went straight out anyway, so yeah, that was a major non-success. But the one thing it has done is cleared an awful lot of space off of one of my best shelves, one of my top shelves that I need for good plants. What I don't need it for is sad looking plants, possibly diseased, just not worth it. Okay, so that was a good clear out. I know that might seem sad, but I'm actually over the moon. I've had a clear out, which has been on the cards, as you know, for some time, and none of that really was worth hanging on to. It just wasn't. So I've now got a nice lot of space on my top shelf. Whoopee! Thanks for dropping by. See you next time. Obviously, there's now no repotting to do. So that was an early afternoon, early finish. Oh, I'll get a chance to finish my wine off then. See you next time. Bye for now.